Well, hello, my friends. What I would just want to do is my trip is over that I took in my Tesla Model 3, and I want to go over what was good, what was bad, and there were some things that were ugly. If you had followed each of the episodes, you would see that several times there were. But this is not a bashing of any kind. I love driving my Tesla, and I think anybody that has one would agree. It's just so much fun, and it's so easy. And you'll hear that when I talk about all the good things that I saw. What about the trip? Well, the trip was 6,104 miles. It took 16 days, and during those 16 days, I was able to visit 5 national parks in the United States, and that started in Utah, and then it ended up at Yosemite in California. And I went through 15 different states. I took a different path going as I did coming, so upper level, lower level, and I'll take you through that on a map. And show you that. And I went from elevations of below sea level at Death Valley to about 8,000 feet above sea level at Yosemite. So really some experience in those days. I slept in my Tesla a couple of times and had no issues and really liked it. Camp mode works as advertised. So all in all, I did a trip I've been wanting to do for quite a while. It went mostly good. I was joined with others during my trip, which made it even better. And let's take you through some of the things. So what I'll do is I'll just take you on a little bit of a map and then talk about some of the things during the trip and where they occurred. Because where some of this occurred turns out, in my mind, to be very important. And you'll see that as we go through it. So here we go. So this is to show you my trip out to California. And that would be where I ended at Yosemite National Park. This part of the trip here was kind of sort of normal. Not much went on. I stopped twice to get to charge. It's 330 miles. The only reason I stopped a second time was to have some energy when I arrived at my destination. This part of the trip here was in rain for a lot of it, unfortunately. But it was just my usual trips. I had some issues I didn't like about the car staying in the left lane, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. I did sleep in the car here. And as I mentioned before, I didn't have any issues. Everything was fine. Everything was okay. Nebraska was a neat state. I enjoyed going through Nebraska. I did stop in Lincoln, and I did also see the Pony Express route. I thought Ogallala was a neat place to stop. So I liked Nebraska. It was a simple drive. Again, any issues I had were mostly the same issues I've kind of sort of always had. And then after that, I got into the mountains. So I arrived in Colorado, and I hit the Rocky Mountains, and not fun. I started having my issues here where I began to think elevation has a whole lot to do with what was happening. And specifically, I got takeover immediately a number of times as I rounded curves, passing somebody when I was on FSD, and it was very uncomfortable. This area here was range anxiety. and not in a good way at all. This is the first time I started noticing that the estimates from the car were significantly different 10 minutes after starting versus where they were when I ended charging. This was really, really, really frustrating here. This is where I had to stop. I went and talked to a police officer. That was a big help to me. It was just issues. So again, mountains, I think so. All kinds of unhappy times. And there was one leg around Green River where I think I mentioned in the video, if the weather had been cooler or colder, I don't think I ever would have made it. I don't know if there was a way to go from point A to point B there. So I think that was a difficult one. Moab, I love Moab. I went to Arches National Park there. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. Then it was on to Las Vegas from there. So I took that, and many of you may have seen, I was surprised here. I went into Arizona, and I didn't know I was going to Arizona. Again, here I had issues where range anxiety popped in because the car would say I couldn't make it. I didn't have enough to make it. Slow down below 65, slow down to 55, all kinds of warnings. And frankly, during most of this, I never had to worry, to be honest with you. I always ended with a pretty good amount of energy left. Then here, from Las Vegas to Death Valley and a couple of other national parks in this area, it was really okay. And the good news was I started finding in places that they had chargers that I could use. The place we stayed in, Death Valley, had destination chargers, which were great. And later on, I found out as we went to Sequoia and Yosemite that they had chargers in the park. And it was awesome. So I could charge while I got something to eat. And I mean, all of that was great. But again, I need to mention range anxiety really hit in because the numbers were all over the place on the estimates. And that was my main issues. And I typically ended with just plenty of energy, maybe in the 20s, where I thought I was going to be zero or something even worse. So I would say here you can kind of see my scribbling, and this whole part that dealt with elevations and whatnot was certainly where I began to have trouble. Now it was time to come home. And as you could see, the path I took home was lower. And I went through additional states I had not gone through before. And you could see I was bypassing a lot of mountains there. And here a couple times I had to go around mountains, but so be it. So here we started in Yosemite. We came down, and I actually stayed in Needles. And that part of the trip was okay. I did get some of the range anxiety in this area here, where I was starting to get those, you're not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And so then, but I was okay with that. And right in here, I was having lots of trouble. I was having trouble with the estimates on the range being way off. I clearly had to go around a lot of mountainous areas, which made sense because I was in the mountains, right? And I got another strike against me for what I considered no reason. I was passing, if I remember right, I was passing a truck. The elevation was changing. I think we were going downhill and around a sharp curve. And all of a sudden it pops up, take control. And I lose FSD until I stop and charge again, and it was kind of not good. So that was one I was not happy with. I shut off FSD for the rest of the trip, and used I can't remember the exact name. It might have been Auto Steer Beta, but I used that the rest of the trip. Everything I always started off well and did it right. I did stop here in Grants, New Mexico, and you could see there's some mountains right here. But I stopped in Grants, and everything got better and better now all of a sudden as I got through the mountainous area here, and things got better through Amarillo. So I went through Texas, then Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Joplin. Things were getting better and better and better through all of this. Into Missouri, St. Louis, of course, where we crossed over. So these were new states that I had not hit on the way out. And so Oklahoma, Missouri, New Mexico, Texas, and then back to Illinois, Indiana, and finally to Kentucky. So the drive home, I would say, was pretty good in this area, really worrisome in this area, and okay in this area. So now I'm going to go through the individual things that this is what I would call the good, bad, and ugly of my 16 days. So let's see what you think. Well, here is my number one pet peeve, and has been for quite a while. When my car gets into the left lane, it almost inevitably goes to the left lane, like there's a magnet pulling it there. It gets in the left lane and it just stays there and stays there. Once every 20 times, if a car comes up behind it, it may in fact move over to the right, but that is so rare. It's hard to remember when it happened. So it'll pass and it'll just stay there, or it'll come on the highway and just automatically go into the center lane. And then when it passes another car from the center lane and goes into the passing left lane, it just stays. It doesn't get back in. This has to be fixed, especially when you pass signs that say keep left except keep right except to pass, or state law, keep right except to pass. Well, I almost never have range anxiety. I did on this trip. And as I mentioned, it seemed like the closer I got to the more mountainous area, the more difficulty the car had in calculating estimates that were helpful. One particular case, and I have to go back and look and see, but I think I mentioned it was Green River area, Colorado, maybe from Parachute. So on the western side of the Rockies, as I was coming down towards Utah, I was so worried because there was nothing else. If I didn't, I couldn't turn back. I was already too far. It kept telling me I didn't have enough to get to the recommended destination. This was just nothing but trouble and worrisome. And as always, as I mentioned, I keep saying this. When I finally got to a charge, I was fine. Everything was okay. But so many times I shut off the air conditioning. I stopped using any of my Wi-Fi charging. I stopped anything that was using electricity. No radio. It was really very frustrating. And by the way, during this trip, it was always in the hundreds, even though it wasn't supposed to be this time of year. So shutting off the air conditioner was not fun at all. So range anxiety was caused by something to do, I think, with the mountainous areas making the estimates incorrect. A lot of times I go from Kentucky to Florida, relatively flat, except maybe the Blue Ridge Mountains, a bit. No problems whatsoever. I mean, it's just no problems. It's night and day. So, would I get better if I went out west a couple more times? Yeah, probably. I have mentioned this before in other videos, but it's really frustrating that the car will not do the speed limit. So I have it set with no offset, and the speed limit could be 25, I'll be doing 13. It could be 45, I'll be doing 28. Uh, Generally on the interstate, it works well. So I can't say too much, but all kinds of other roads that are not interstates, including state roads with speed limits of 55, 65. This problem persists. This has been a big problem, and I hope it's fixed soon. A big positive is how comfortable it is to drive this car. It's just great. I mean, I drove 6,100 miles, and I really didn't have back pain or cramps, nothing like that. The seats are just so great. Even the steering wheel, the way it feels, is fine. So I have nothing but compliments for the comfort of driving the car, including sleeping in it in the back. Ha ha ha. Navigation screen, there's really nothing like it. Makes life so easy. You don't have to constantly be checking anything. The commands are great. To leave an interstate, it advises you early that you'll be getting off. All the information's there. It rerouted me a couple times due to an accident or construction. One big time, by the way, there was a large backup in Amarillo, Texas. It rerouted me, and I can't tell you how much it saved me in time because I don't know, but I've got to believe it was at least a half hour based on where I came back on and moved from there. So, and the maps and navigation system from Tesla just get better and better and better. So I would tell everybody that this is really one of the best things in a Tesla is their maps and navigation systems. Well, that's it. I just took a 16-day drive and kind of broke it down to about 20 minutes for you. I love my Tesla, and any of the things that look like I'm bashing it, I'm not. I just want it to get better. The pet peeves of the left lane is and speed limit, probably the two biggies. The left lane is one of the most frustrating. The other things that offset it, I mean, how many other companies have this great system, navigation system that exits the highway properly, takes you to where you need to go charge, et cetera, et cetera. How many of them are so comfortable that while you're driving, you really are so comfortable and at ease that it makes the drive a whole lot more pleasurable. So overall, of course, I'm pleased with the Tesla. There's some things that were frustrating to me, and range anxiety certainly is one of them. And I'll learn more about, I'll try to use some more trips to the mountains and places that contributed to these problems and see if it's nothing more than me learning how to drive there or if there's something else. Well, my friends, thank you so much for watching. And for any of you who watched the episodes of my trip, thank you also.